Hey everyone, Paul ISM. Welcome to part 1 of our Revell 125th Camaro Z-28 video build. So yes, part 1 of this build. This was a spur of the moment build. I fancied a buddy build with Joe Camilleri, and we wanted something quick and easy. Many jokes there. We've kind of been dealing with a few builds that were sapping our mojo a bit and, taking its toll on the build and very in depth. And we just fancied doing something a bit more interesting and quick. So the plan was we just pick this up, build it, work through till we're done, and get it finished, bish bash bosh, as quick as possible. So that's what we're going to do today. As I'll explain in a minute, slightly different build process on this. I am just going to work through it. So I will normally concentrate on video 1 in doing the body work, and I'll work on nothing else until that's done. Then I'll work on the running gear. Then I'll work on the interior. On this one, I'm just going to work on it. So you're going to see all kinds of different modeling stages at different times through this build. It's just literally filmed in the timeline order I did the build. So it's a little bit different than normal. And we're not going to get to the same stage in this video today as we normally do. So let me know what you think of it at the end. Have a watch. Do you prefer my more structured videos like I have in future? Maybe watch the whole series before you decide. Or do you like this building as I'm going through its sequence instead? So yeah, there we go. Let's jump in, have a quick look in the box, and then get on with the build. Okay, so as I said, this is Revell 69 Camaro Z28 RS. So this is a buddy build between myself and Joe Camilleri and a few other guys out there, but primarily between myself and Joe. We wanted a quick, easy build. Doesn't necessarily turn into that at places, but we get there in the end, and we will do anyway. Today's goal is different than normal. We've got some great pictures on the side there. Hopefully the stance will be like that. But today's goal, we're going to work through this in a different order. We're just going to work through this in the process I work on the kit. So we normally just focus on getting the body to primer, paint, decal, clear. We're going to do some other work in between on this today. So a little bit of a different process. So see what it looks like, see what you think of that process, and see what you think of the video. So the kit itself is molded really nice. The body's really clean. A few seam lines to get rid of along the body itself. All the parts are well molded. There's no excess flash anywhere. Obviously, you've got your obvious seams to clean up on each part. But overall, it's quite a simple kit. Actually looks really well molded. Like I say, it does prove to be a bit of a tricky one later on. I think myself and Joe were left a bit frustrated by the fitment of some of the parts. But overall, it looks like it'll go together pretty easily. So we've got the normal plastic parts. We've got a little rubber sprue with our tyres on as well. So tread on them is really nice. Need a little bit of a clean up. We've got the chrome sprue, clear sprue, and some loose parts. So one of these I cut off to test, and the other one was loose in the box. The glass looks to be pretty decent, to be fair. Typical Revell, no side glass. And the chrome looks really, really good as well. Again, a shame we're going to have to strip it because the sprue connection points are on the side, but hey. So we're going to start by cleaning up the body. So we've got a bonnet to do, a rear valance, a rear spoiler, and the main body shell itself. So we just cut them off and clean them up. Tamiya side cutters to cut them off, UMP sanders to clean them up, and a quick test of the bonnet or hood, depending on where in the world you're from. Actually fits really well in there, nice and positive. No complaints there at all. Like I said, the body is molded really nicely, to be honest. We've got a few seams. The trickiest one is this one on the rear C-pillar. It runs down from the that back window. It's a little bit tight on the rear end. But UMP sander in there cleans it up pretty well. And like I say, just take your time. Don't be reprofiling the shape too much. Don't be going ham-fisted or heavy-handed on. Just take your time and concentrate on removing the seam where required. So, like I said, it runs down that back end, down the where the rear valance goes, needs a bit of a clean up, across the front wing, and all the other parts are just going to need a bit of a clean up. Now, what we did notice was wispy bits of flash here and there on the body. So there's some around the front and some on the back here where this valance goes, and some of the wheel arches as well. Now the kit calls to leave this part out till the end, but myself and Joe both wanted to put it in place. So we did a quick test fit and a quick preliminary chassis fit, and it does look like we can get it in there. So we're going to commit to glue and glue it in place. It fits one side really well. The other side's going to need a little bit of manipulation. So what I'm going to do first with a bit of Tamiya Extra Thin is just glue the very center in. Let that dry for 10-15 minutes or so. Then glue the edge that fits in really well, which is that bottom edge as you look at it now. Lines up really well. So just put a little bit of glue across the top as well. And just working on it section by section, we can slowly manipulate it into shape. While that's drying, we can clean up our spoiler as well. So again, pretty clean part, just needs light clean up here and there. UMP Sander's doing a great job as usual. And then we've glued the bottom part in because the bottom part already fits in flush. So we didn't need to manipulate that or move it around. This top one just needs a little bit of pressure to glue it in place. So I've got the Tamiya Extra Thin in place, applied the glue, used my left hand to clamp that rear body just a touch to hold it, and then use my right finger just to keep it pushed out, and I've just sat there for 5-10 minutes, happily chatting away to the live chat on a Monday stream, and just held it while it glued. And with a little bit of time, it glued in place pretty well. And then what we're going to do is going to hit the outside edge, because I glued from the inside on all these pieces, with a little bit of tet, just a little bit, we don't need a lot, just to get that seam perfect. And once that's dry, we can give it a good sand and get it all nice and flush. We've also scuffed the body up. I haven't shown it on camera. You've seen me do it many times before. Just use a 3000 grit Tamiya sponge to go all over the body and flatten all that paint to give us a nice key for primer. And then with some UMP airbrush cleaner on a clean piece of tissue, we'll go around to completely degrease the body. The bonnet we're going to put in an old UMP decal solution bottle that's full of water with a 3M pad. Get it glued in place, and then we can wipe that over with our UMP airbrush cleaner on the cloth as well. And that's it. In the spray booth now, we're going to prime in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. So a quick dust over the Tamiya anti-static brush. Get rid of any nasties that have stuck. You'll often find that once you've hit them, hit the body with some tissue, with some airbrush cleaner or whatever, you can cause a bit of static on it. You end up getting dust and hair attracted to it more. So the anti-static brush not only removes that hair, but also cuts down on how much lands back in. So the Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black's been thinned about 50-60% with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner. We're going through my Iwata HPC Plus at about 18 psi. And I'm going to start off with a fairly light even coat all over. Not putting it on too heavy. Now, I do apologise for segments in this video. When I set my camera up for filming in the spray booth, I always tap the focus box to that top left corner. That way it hits the car and not the back of my hand. Because as you see, as the airbrush moves to the centre, the autofocus on my camera focuses on the airbrush and not the model. So apologies, because I did seem to forget quite a way through this video. So it's going out of focus. Just squint and it should come back into focus for you. And I'll make sure I sort the problem out for future. But this is after 3 coats, so we'll put a couple of light ones down, and on the last one we come in a little bit heavier. We're not putting a full wet coat down, but we're not being as stingy with it on the last coats. As you can see, we've got a nice, beautiful black finish on it. Real nice primer, the Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. I'm a big fan of lacquer primers. They just suit my spraying style and work in much better. As you see, we've gone a crosshatch pattern as well, which we have done on the body. And there we go, that can be allowed to dry. While we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to get all the chrome parts off the chrome sprue that we need. Now, I've decided to leave the wheels as they are and the grille. The Z-28 badges are staying as well. We're going to leave those in chrome because the chrome is pretty good. What we've done here is we've popped all the parts we require in bleach. And this is sped up. I think it's like 8 times speed over about 3 minutes. And you can see the bleach doing its wonders. If you look at the air cleaner in the center, just to the left, you can see the bleach taking the chrome off. And there we go. For the most part, it is mostly gone. Rinse all that off with some clean water, dry it off, and we're all ready for primer. Primer is now dried. We've got our Tamiya 3000 sponge, and we're just going to take it all back, flatten it all back a bit, get rid of any nasties that are in the paint, any imperfections, any high spots. Because we don't put the mist surfacer on wet, it doesn't really self-level well. So I think it always benefits from a bit of a flat back. You'll end up with a nice smooth surface. Once we've sanded it, we give it a good wipe over again and a dust over with the brush. In the spray booth again, we've got some Tamiya TS21 Gold. We're doing a candy colour, so we need a gold base for it. So this is Tamiya TS21. It's been decanted, thinned with Tamiya lacquer thinner with retarder. Through the apex at about 18p, not the apex, sorry, my bad. We're through the Iwata HPC Plus at about 18 psi. My apex requires parts at the moment, so it's out of action for a little bit. And that's the airbrush I normally use for metallics. So we've had to use the Iwata today until I get some spare parts. We're going to put a couple of coats of this down, build up a nice, even gold finish. It's a beautiful colour. The car did look really nice in gold, actually. And this is going to give us our base for our candy colour. Now, if you've not seen the GX range of clears, you can put them over a gold or silver base, and there's some beautiful colours. I do have a video on my Patreon. It's an exclusive Patreon video on testing out all the clears and all the metallic colours, the actual reds, blues, greens, and the metallic range of the Mr. Hobbies. It is a Patreon exclusive video. It is on there. So if you'd like to get access to that, you become a patron. There's a link in the description down below. Select a tier you want and give you access to different things on my Patreon. You get early release videos, exclusive builds. There's a Honda Civic build on there from Alpha Models. There's exclusive videos on the GX paints, how to build window wipers, and I've got lots more planned for the future. And your support on Patreon keeps these videos going. So like I say, a couple of coats of this, probably 3 coats, a fairly light one to begin with, and then building up to a wetter coat at the end. The TS paints do like to go on a bit wetter because they self-level. Very, very safe paint to spray. And this gold is just absolutely stunning. It really is. It's always a fun paint to spray, TS, because it's just so trouble-free. It's an aerosol paint, so it's meant to go on wet. So you've not really got any danger of putting too much down, and it just covers really well. The metallics are superb. So back in the building part of my cave, I suppose it is, the building bench. While that gold dries, we're going to work on the engine. Now, normally in my builds, I will only work on one section at a time, working on one video. And that can slow my builds down immensely. So while that body is drying, I would normally be doing nothing because I don't want to get too ahead of myself with the build. And I like to film in the stages that I'm working on. So working this way will allow me to work a lot quicker and shut up my production rate. So that's why I thought we'll try it out today, and I'll just work in the order I normally work, but just keep going through like I'm not video building. So that's why it's going to seem a bit higgledy-piggledy today, but hopefully the journey will be the same, just in a slightly different order. So we cleaned up the engine halves, we've got the cylinder heads on, a few of the other parts are in there, the water pumps on there, all glued in place. We're going to have to pick and choose what we want to spray where and when, but whilst we let those parts dry on the engine before we can progress any further, we're going to get the Mr. Hobby GX Clear. I think it's 102 Clear Red I've got. I've wetted the paint booth just to keep any nasties that are there on the paper. And we're going to thin the GX Clear about 50% with Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner. That's what we're going to do today. So I've got Badger Paint Mixer. We're going to give it a real good mix up to make sure all those pigments and colours are perfect. And we're going to do something I don't normally do, which is measure paint. So we're going to put about 5 ml of paint in here. So I use the paint mixer as a guide. As you see, I'm just checking the level. Then add 5 ml of Mr. Hobby Leveling Thinner. Like so. We give it another good whiz up with the paint mixer. Make sure it's all evenly mixed. And away we go. And again, we're going to use the Iwata HPC Plus. And this is going to take probably about 10 coats to do this because it's a very, very slow process. Because we're putting a clear red over a gold, the initial tonal variation is minimal. You can see that I'm putting a coat of paint down and you can't really see a thing. So this is the same side of the car, but the different coats as we go. This is like coat 2, This is coat 3. So these have been left for like 5-10 minutes between coats. And I'm just showing the different stages. You start to see the hue of the red coming through now. The light starts to catch it. This will be like coat 4 or 5. And again, on every alternative coat, we'll alternate between up and down, side to side. Again, apologies for the autofocus. It is really annoying. And the goal here is just get a nice, even colour. So whilst the colour's not really showing through vibrant, you can see the tonal difference in the reds. You can just see it starting to build up slowly. Another coat. And again, you can just see it starting to build up. Now, because it's a clear paint, once we've got a good coat of it down, we can start to come in a little bit heavier. So I'm starting to put down a bit more of a wetter coat. And that colour is getting really interesting now. Starting to get like an autumn gold colour, which looks very, very cool. And again, alternating up and down, side to side. Beautiful clear shot of the airbrush. Not so much of the model. So there we go. As you see, it just builds up more and more of each coat. So put your coat down, give it 10 minutes, come back with another coat. And like I said, we are putting it down wetter now. We're putting down much heavier coats because we can. This is ultimately a clear paint, so it is applied like a clear varnish. You can see the red getting really vibrant now, those gold hues behind it. And of course, you could stop at any stage here. If you like this colour, you could stop right there. I knew the colour I wanted because I'd already tested on a spoon in that video I was talking about before. So I knew I needed multiple coats. And I would estimate there was at least 10 coats on this overall. Just building it up, not going too crazy with the thickness of the coats, but just enough to see a tonal difference between each and every coat. Like I said, you could stop at any stage if you thought, oh yeah, I really like that colour now. Just stop and leave it be. And we're certainly getting there now. This is about the colour I want. So just keep going until you're happy. The main thing is that A, it's consistent all over. You have the same colour on every corner of the body. And make sure for every coat you do, you give that bonnet a coat as well. So you have the matching colour. And we have been doing that each time. So this is the colour I'm looking for, this nice dark ruby red. When I turn the model, because the paint's thinner on corners or on edges, you get a gold hue show through the paint and it just looks absolutely beautiful. It's very hard to see in the video, but it does do it. And this was quite a lot of work. This was a good few hours of spraying to do this. It's a very involved paint job. As you can see, I'm putting a bit more of a wetter coat down now. And of course, make sure you get all the wheel arches, in amongst the lights, the windows, the bonnet shuts, underneath where the radiator grill will be, underneath the door sills, just everywhere. Make sure you get even coats all over. So just turn into an absolutely stunningly nice colour. Just having a quick colour check with the bonnet. I think the bonnet just needs one more little light coat. Just a very quick pass over. I think we're pretty much matched there. So while that dries again, we're going to work on the engine part again. So we just go around UMP sanders, clean everything up, a combination of sponge and the thinnies. Plenty of parts to clean up. Whilst I was doing this, I did only plan to do the engine. I just ended up cleaning up everything, every single part of the kit. They're all cleaned up, all mounted, ready for primer, and it just did the job a lot quicker. Save sitting there mucking around and doing it in 2 lots. I thought I might as well sit and do it all as a lot. But we've got some tricky seams to do on like the headers, the exhaust, some of the drive shafts and what have you. And in amongst there, we've got all the parts we stripped from chrome as well. So they're going to need a different primer. The engine's going to be in a red-orange colour. As you can see there, how beautiful is that colour? And that's not cleared yet. That's just the clear red from Mr. Hobby. And it looks absolutely stunning. So what I did do, because the amount of time it took to paint this, I ended up with a bit of muck in the clear coat, the clear red. So I had a bit of dust, a few, buggers in there and what have you. So all I did was with the 3000 grit Tamiya sponge, after this had dried for many hours, I went over it all and just gently sanded back the top layer and then chucked a couple more coats over the top just to get a nice even coat. As you can see, I put it down quite wet. This is sped up footage, by the way. I'm not this fast in real life. And that way I got a much better end result. But what an absolutely beautiful colour. I would highly recommend these paints. Like I say, if you're a supporter of mine, go look on Patreon if you're at the appropriate tier, and you'll be able to see that video on testing them, because it's very interesting to see the differences between putting a colour over a silver and a gold base. It does change some of them drastically. So like I say, we've got all the engine parts cleaned up, top of the screen there, you can see. And I thought, you know what, we might as well paint them all together. So I'm going to clean up all the interior parts, and we can just prime and paint in one batch. It's a lot easier, a lot quicker. It's all going to need doing eventually anyway. I think I would rather do it in one sitting, and I did it one morning on a live stream, chatting to everybody in the chat, chatting to the guys, and it just whiles away those boring jobs. Now, some of it can be assembled. This front subframe can go in because it's all going to be painted the same colour. So myself and Joe, again, the beauty of doing a buddy build is we kept it the same stage for most of the build, although I do have to wait for Joe a little bit every now and then, and vice versa, to be honest. You have to wait for me. Is we could talk and say, you're going to put this on, what colour do you plan to do this? And I think that's part of the fun of a buddy build. I think it's what makes it fun, problem solving together. If something doesn't fit, hey, how did you do this? What are you doing with this part? And for me, that's part and parcel of a buddy build. It's good to do. So we've got plenty planned for the future. I think the next one we've got is an AMT 63 Corvette at the end of the month that myself and a few of the guys are building along with Joe as well. So that'll be a video build. Myself and Joe got a truck build to do and a plane build. We've both kind of roped each other into that with a little bit of, well, if you build that, I'll build this. I call Joe's bluff, and Joe now has to build a plane, and I'm building a truck. So yeah, we've got plenty of buddy builds in the future coming up, so stay tuned and you'll see them. So the distributor, I've got, I think this is like a 0.2mm drill bit in this, and the distributor's already marked for the holes. I've very nearly snapped the drill bit then. So we can just use the existing guides and some very, very precise and light, careful drilling to drill out our holes for our plug leads. You see the material's coming out there, so just take your time doing this. You don't want to slip, you don't want to snap that drill bit, you don't want to stab yourself in the finger. We just need a hole in there. I've zoomed in a bit for you here. Deep enough to get the wiring. So teeny tiny little drill bit. Some very careful drilling. Out we come. There we go. And there we are. Priming now. We're in the spray booth again. We've got some Mr. Hobby Biz Servicer 1500 black. Interior and the chassis are going to be painted in this. I'm going to leave the chassis as is in the Mr. Surfacer. And, or did I? Do you know what? I might have actually painted it LP5. I forget. I've completely forgot. My mind's been boggled with this build because I've done so much. There was 14 hours of footage to do these two parts, parts 1 and 2. And I've not even finished the build yet, so I kind of forgot what I did. I might have painted the chassis in LP5, we'll find out in a bit. But anyway, most of the parts were primed and surfaced of black. Anything that was going to be chromed, like this, the air cleaner, the bumpers, etc., the license plate holders, we're going to do in GX2 gloss black. So straight on the plastic with the GX2, a nice light coat building up to a wet coat, so we get a nice gloss black finish, and that's put to one side overnight to fully dry, and we can paint these silver the next day. So a bit of careful painting. The GX2 is thinned about 50% with Mr. Hobby leveling thinner, and it sprays beautiful. I go straight onto the plastic with it. I've never had any issues. As long as you get a nice glossy black base, it makes a huge difference to any high shine metallics like stainless steel or chrome or duraluminum, which is what I'll probably use on this. That was Joe's recommendation, and boy was he right, it looks really good. But the important thing is get that nice gloss black finish. It does cover really well being a lacquer, and we get all those primed up. So everything's primed up now. Paint has dried. Again, this hasn't been clear coated yet. What we're going to do is we're going to mask up and paint all the chrome work. So This was many hours of tedious masking to do this. Carefully go around all the windows, the chrome strip at the bottom of the door sills, all the wheel arches, they all needed doing. So we use a combination of Tamiya 1mm, 3mm, and 6mm and 18mm tape, and some Azu 0.7 for some of the more difficult, more intricate areas to mask. So a lot of work here, a serious amount of work to get to this. It was a good few hours to do. As always, detack all your tape before you put on any paintwork. You don't want to pull off any paint, especially the amount of time it took us to paint this. And it is my first time using these clear paints, so everything is an unknown. Will it take masking okay? Will it take the panel washes okay? But after several hours work, this is where we're at. It's more masking tape than car, really. And because of the way we've masked it, we kind of use any cling film because there's too many parts that are chromed. So we've done the windows, the window wipers, we've done the wheel arches, the side strip along the bottom of the doors. We've done the marker light as well on the front and rear at the sides. So they're all done. And we're just going to fill in these last few pieces. And there we go, we're in the spray booth. So we've got some Mr. Hobby Duraluminum. And we're going to thin this about 50% with Mr. Hobby Rapid Thinner because that works best on the metallics in my opinion. So roughly mix it 50-50, give it a quick whiz up with a Badger paint mixer. If you don't have one of these Badger paint mixers, I would highly recommend get one. They are very good tools. Quick blast over some air to remove any dust. Make sure all your masking tape is burnished down. I would go around every area you've masked once more with your finger or a cotton bud and make sure all that masking tape is perfectly down. And we're going to put a couple of light coats down, several light coats in fact, all over where it needs painting. Pay attention to all the different angles and the recesses and make sure you get underneath and what have you. Just take your time. There's no rush. Don't be flooding the area. Just put some nice light coats down. It dries really quick and you can come back and put another coat on almost immediately once you've gone around the whole vehicle. Like I say, it does cover well, but oh my god, it's a lot of masking tape. It's a lot of masking. It's a very tedious job. Make sure we get those window wipers inside the A pillars, inside the B pillars, underneath the roof, underneath the rear window. Like I say, we're probably 3 coats in here, 3 very light coats just building up. You'll see the colour build up. You'll know when you're done because it'll just all look evenly silver all the way around. Now, at this stage, you've got to pray you don't get any overspray or that any tape's lifted because it just adds more work to the model, which you don't need. Thankfully, the hours of masking, which took literal minutes to spray and minutes to unmask, all worked out absolutely perfect. I don't think we got a single piece of overspray or any problems anywhere. It all worked absolutely perfect. So the time spent masking, while it is frustrating and boring, it's well worth doing. It really is. It makes a big difference. I see people use marker pens on these and painted by hand. It just doesn't look the same. It's a personal opinion of mine, but if you're going to do it properly. You might as well do it properly. Now, Birth Metal Foil was something I used to love doing on these. It just became such an unreliable product. I stopped using it because it just wouldn't stick. I believe the newer one's much newer. Of course it is much better, but I've got about £50 worth of Birth Metal Foil in a drawer that's absolutely useless. I did try some of Hasegawa stuff, and that is really good. But on this one, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go do it Joe's way. I'm going to do the clear coat. Do the silver work before the clear coat. Decals, we've got stripes to go on front and rear of the car. So just on the bonnet and just on the rear as well. And really good decals, actually. They went down pretty trouble-free. So on the front bonnet, as opposed to the rear bonnet, I will get the decal down, line it up at the back as it is shaped to fit in those areas at the back. And then just gently brush away any fluid. Don't worry about if you get any bubbles or what have you. We can sort those out in a bit. We're just trying to get it all down and level. We're going to have to cut at the front of the bonnet. So let's get our main job first. We dry off our brush, keep drying it off, brush it over to remove any moisture. And then we can deal with that little bubble on that crease at the front. So it's a case of get all the moisture out, like so. Brush it down into the gap of the panel line where we're going to cut it. And then we can brush out that bubble to one side, and that should take care of it. There we go. We've got a brand new blade on our scalpel. And I made a mistake and didn't cut right through the very first bit. I took it off, as you see, put it back in, and when I move it, it moves the decal. So always make sure you cut cleanly through the first bit. Luckily, I could put it back where it needed to be and just hit it with the scalpel again, just to get that little nick in place. There we go. Be very careful. So we know we're okay on the bonnet itself, on the hood. So we now need to put this piece, because the decal's too long. It should stop at the front of the bonnet, leave its pin line. It's a little bit too long, so I've just dragged it back. Obviously, we cut it, hit it with the decal solution. We'll get that to fold under into the engine bay, and it'll put our decal on the perfect position and exactly where we need it. I'm just going to hit it with the decal solution, let that work. We went straight to the strong on this, because it's what I seem to need to get it to set. Fold over the edge, and then we'll gently shut the bonnet and make sure it's all lined up, like so. And then hit it with some extra strong to get it set in place properly. We don't need a lot of this at all, so as you see, I put some on, wipe the brush off, and then move the excess round. And this will really soften the decal and get it to fully conform where we want. So they're tricky decals just because of the shape of them and they need cutting, but the decal quality is actually really good. And I actually kind of regret putting them on now. I wish I'd saved them to put on after clear coat, because they actually looked really good in satin, but they'll look really good glossed as well, so it's not the end of the world. And like I say, just deal with that front one the same. And there we go, there's that one down. So a little dust for the other side. And we get another one in place. With those in, we're onto the back now. Same process as before, exactly the same process, but this time they go up and over the boot spoiler. So I found they needed cutting at the boot spoiler where it hits them and just tucking in, and then folding over the back, and it needs cutting on the back of the car as well. But like I say, the decals went down really well. Quite responsive to the decal solutions. You definitely need the extra strong for them though. But they did go down really well. Now we've got some Camaro markings on the body, and we opted to brush paint these. So I've got some Vallejo model silver on a very precise Winsor Newton brush. I've loaded it up, wiped off the excess on my finger, as you can see, and I'm just gently touching the brush sideways onto the letters, just gently moving across it to mark the Camaro. It's a fiddly job. It takes a steady hand and good eyes. I've got my optivisor on doing this. And there we go. Same on the front of the bonnet as well. There's one on the other side. Now, I will admit there is one on the boot lid. The decal goes over it, and for me, it lost all its definition. When I tried to paint it, it did kind of get all over the decal, smudge it. I opted, I'm going to leave it and leave that for, just leave it black. Well, there we go. We're going to leave that there today and go back to me. Right then, there we go. That's where we're at today. So we've left it literally on the verge of clear coat. We have. It's near enough ready for clear coat on the body. We're ready for engine assembly, interior assembly, and what have you. So that's what we're going to concentrate in part 2, and then come back in part 3, because it's nearly 5 days since I 2K'd it. I'm a bit behind in the videos at the minute, and we'll get this finished, and it will be exactly where I want it to be. A week and a day or so build, and a nice quick easy build. It's been a bit tested in places. Some of the fit isn't great on this, but overall it's gone together really well, and that colour looks awesome. The colour looks great, the black decals look good, chrome work looks good, and just wait until you see it under clear coat. It looks epic. You'll see that in part 2. Alright, there we go. As always, like to support the channel. I do have a Patreon. I've mentioned it in the video, I think. I can't remember if I did now or not. There's links down below. You can get early access in all the videos. There's exclusive builds. There's loads of perks on there. Have a look. If you want to become a patron, you can cancel at any time. It's not a long term. You have to do it. You can, cancel whenever you want and take it back up again whenever you feel like it as well. The option is there to do. Like I say, there's all different tiers, different levels, different access points to look at, and that's linked down below if you want to have a look. There's links to everything else down below. All the products I use are listed in the description. There's links to UMP Retail, where a lot of my products come from that I use. My modelling page is down there. A personal email that goes through to me if you've got any questions. My Amazon store's there as well, and there's links to everything to do with ISM, including the live show, the Off Air Hangouts, the forum, the Facebook page. Everything is down there. You can get in touch and have a look. All right. There we go. Thanks for watching today. As always, give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you sub to the channel and click that bell notification to get notified of all the new videos. And please leave a comment. Love reading your feedback on the comments. Let me know what you think of this video. It's different than usual. Obviously, the part 2 and 3 are going to continue as well. Third one's probably be pretty much the same as usual, although it'll just be final assembly on the third one because we got through the second part quite quick. Let me know your thoughts on it, and should I stick with it or go back to the structured, just working on one section at a time? Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.